So this is the Hyperbolas assignment. You have them on your table, so go ahead and grab them. Okay, so if we look at number 1, can you guys tell what the center of the hyperbola is? Yeah, positive 1 for x, negative 1 for y. And today we have to be really careful to make sure that we don't write the center backwards on accident, because sometimes the x parentheses will come first. So just be careful when you draw it. So I'm going to go right 1, down 1. This one is not written as a fraction, so what should it be over? 1. So this is over 1. Okay. So how do we draw a hyperbola after we draw the center? We have to figure out how much to go left and right and up and down. Anybody? Maybe look at your notes from last night. What's kind of interesting about drawing a hyperbola that's been different from everything else? Yeah, we draw a box first. So how far left and right should I go? 1. The square root of 1 is 1, so I'm going to go left 1 and right 1. And then how far up and down should I go? 2, right? So we're square rooting it. So up 2, down 2, and then from there we draw the box or the rectangle. And then what do we do with that rectangle? Yeah. Not vertices, it starts with an A. Asymptotes. The asymptotes you draw from corner to corner. So we're going to take our rulers, if you grabbed one, and we have to go through each corner and we have to go through the center. And I'm drawing a dotted line because this is not part of the curve. It would be an imaginary line that the curve is going to get closer to. So there's one asymptote. There's the other asymptote. And how do I know which way to draw my curves? So we can do the top and the bottom curve or the left and the right curve, and we have to look at the equation to know. So which one are we drawing for this one? Yeah, the left and right curve, because the x goes first. So since the x goes first, then I'm going to start. That means that this right here is a vertex and this is another vertex. And then it's going to go like this. And it's just going to follow the asymptote in each direction. All right, so there's our hyperbola. Technically, we should go back and erase the box and erase the asymptotes and erase the center because those are not really part of the graph, but it's so common for people to draw them this way that they usually just leave them there. But technically, we really should be erasing those. Okay, so we have the hyperbola drawn. What else do we have to find? Vertices, which we just drew, so we can go ahead and write those down. From the center, we went left 1, so 0, negative 1, and we went to the right 1, which is 2, negative 1. Anyone remember how to find the C value? Or you can look at your packet and see how to find the C value. C squared equals A squared plus B squared this time, kind of like the Pythagorean theorem. And so we're going to have C squared equals 1 plus 4. So C squared equals 5. And so then what is C? square root of 5. Okay. So to find the focus, if you look in your packet, do we start with the center or do we start with the vertices? Start with the center, okay? And do we go up or down or do we go left and right? Can you tell from your packet? We're going to go left and right because the focus, each focus is always inside the curve. So the curve is kind of curling towards the focus. We're going to have a focus here and a focus over there. Thank you. Hold on, don't leave yet. Tristan, come back. All right, so from the center, we're going to go to the left square root 5, and we're going to go to the right square root 5. So 1 minus square root 5, negative 1, 1 plus square root 5, negative 1. All right, what else do we have to find? The asymptotes and the transverse axis. I'm going to go ahead and do that next. So transverse axis, which one is that? So we're looking at this part of our notes. Which axis is the transverse one? Yeah, it's the one that cuts the parabolas in half, so they fold on top of themselves, right? And this is a horizontal line, so it's going to be written as a y equals equation. And it goes right through the focus and the vertex and the center and the other focus, or the other vertex and the other focus. So we have to look and see what that y value is that it cuts through. So y equals, and then what do we notice about the y value? It's negative 1. Cuts through that y value of negative 1. Okay, the asymptotes take a little bit more work. So for this assignment, there's not really enough room to write all the answers on the page. If you look at my answer key, you can see that I did all this stuff on a separate sheet of paper just so I wouldn't have a messy page. Whatever you want to do is fine. I'm going to go ahead and write it on a sticky note so I have enough room. So if we look at our packet, the asymptote says, take the y parenthesis. And so our y parentheses said y plus 1, so I'm going to write y plus 1 equals, and then it says positive and negative of b divided by a. Now, you could definitely write this on the packet if you want to, you just have to write super tiny. So I won't judge you if you do that for the first one. So plus or minus, what is the b value and what is the a value? Yeah, b value is 2, right, because we're square rooting. B value is 2, a value is 1. Okay, so we're going to say plus or minus 2 over 1. And then after that, we have to put our x parenthesis, which was x minus 1. Okay. And do we just leave it like that and say that's good? No, what do our notes say? Simplify, so it's y equals mx plus b. Okay? All right, so from here, I'm going to write it two ways because I have 1 plus, 1 minus. So I'm going to say y plus 1 equals positive 2 times x minus 1, and y plus 1 equals negative 2 times x minus 1. And then what do I need to do now? Distribute. We're simplifying it to make it y equals mx plus b. So the next step to do that simplification is to distribute. So we have y plus 1 equals 2x minus 2. And then for this one, we have y plus 1 equals negative 2x plus 2. And then what do we do to completely finish the problem? Yeah, subtract the 1. So if we minus the 1, we're going to have 2x minus 3. if we minus the 1, we're going to have negative 2x plus 1. And when you're done with the asymptote, you should always be able to go back and see that it makes sense with the dotted lines you drew. So negative 2x plus 1, here's our y-intercept of 1, and then it goes down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. And then the other one crosses at negative 3, y-intercept of negative 3, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And so our answers for the asymptotes make sense with our picture. All right. How are we feeling right now about all those steps? Need to do another one? We can do another one. Are you making sure you should have this packet out? Are you realizing how helpful this packet is? Okay. So you don't have to memorize every little thing right now. We just want to make sure that we can understand the diagrams and how to use them to help us find the information we're finding. Okay. Let's go ahead and try number 2 because the y is in front on that one. All right, so what's the center on number 2? And be really careful. 0, 2, good. Do you guys see how it's 0, 2, not 2, 0? And that's because the x comes second in the equation. So the center is 0, 2. So from that, how do we draw our box? We have to go left and right 2, and up and down 3. So just like before, the number underneath y tells you how far to go up and down, and the number underneath x tells you how far to go left and right. The only difference today is that they could be written backwards. Well, and that we're drawing a box. Okay, once I draw the box, what do I do? Draw the asymptotes, okay. And then which way do we draw the curves? Up and down, because the equation starts with a y. And so y tells us to draw the up and down parts. So there's one thing we've already found, even though we haven't written it down. The vertices, what are they? So 0, 5, and 0, negative 1, okay. How do we find the C value? So we're going to add these two together. So C squared is going to equal 9 plus 4, which is 13. And so C equals square root of 13. Perfect. And then this time, which direction do we go to get the foci? Up and down, yes. You're going to take your center, and you're going to take the y coordinate of your center and add and subtract square root 13. So we've got 0, 2 minus root 13, 0, 2 plus root 13. I think it's Isis. Isis, you have to open the door. You guys played that really well. That was like real quick. Hi, Katie. Sorry it took so long. We played Nose Goes. The papers are in your folder. All right, so we have the center, we have the vertices, we have the foci. We need the transverse axis. What's that? X equals 0, so this time it's a vertical line. And it's the vertical line that goes through the... You guys were so quick that time. And Justin, before you walk, check your folder. Was the exam over that fast?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2 hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what did... Okay. Fun. Wait, is that the early morning class? Aren't you so glad you don't have to go to that anymore?
We're having a breakfast party.
Oh, that's adorable. All right. Transverse axis. Okay, so now's when we need the extra paper because we're going to find those asymptotes.
How did you find it?
The transverse axis is the one that makes the parabola like fold on top of itself. So if you look at your picture, we can see the transverse axis is this one. And since that's up and down, that's an x equals equation. And it went through the center, and so I just looked at the x coordinate of the center and got 0. All right, so asymptotes. How do we start off writing them? The y parentheses. So y minus 2 for this problem. It'd be b over a, so it'd be 3 over 2. 3 over 2. And then, sorry, so I wrote 3 over 2, and then we have the x parentheses, which this time isn't really a parenthesis, it's just x. So we have 2 options. We have y minus 2 equals positive 3 over 2x, and we have y minus 2 equals negative 3 over 2x. And what do we do after that to fix it? We add 2. So y equals 3 over 2x plus 2. Y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 2. And if we compare that with what we have, you guys can see that both asymptotes do have a y-intercept of positive 2. And one of them goes up 3, right 2, up 3, right 2, and then the other one goes down 3, right 2, down 3, right 2. And so the asymptotes fit what we found. All right. That's how you check it. What do we think? Relatively. But this is our last conic. So that means we don't have to memorize any more words. We're like done with that stuff. Woohoo! All right. So there is no video tonight. Woohoo! Okay, so that means, which is nice because last night's video was real long. Sorry about that. So your goal is to get as much of this packet done as you can because this is your classwork and homework since there's no video. All right? Okay, gonna work on that.